Hey, what's up everyone? In this video we are going to be changing the stabilizer end links for a Ford Taurus 2000. This is for the front sway bar, and the process should work for pretty much any other car. Okay, so here I have a pair of new stabilizer end links, and these are for the front sway bar as I mentioned. So of course the first step is to jack up your car and take off the wheel. So with the wheel off, we can see our old stabilizer link that we're going to remove. It's this long piece here. The boots on there were cracked and they were no longer good. So there are only two bolts we have to remove. The top one you can reach with an impact gun. The bottom one you'll definitely need some wrenches. You can also use some penetrant fluid to make it a little bit easier to remove. Alright, so here I'm trying to remove the bottom nut first, and as you can see I'm using some locking pliers to help me prevent the middle shaft from spinning, and then I can grab my adjustable wrench to begin taking off the nut. Also note that this method will destroy the boot. Since we don't care about this old stabilizer link, we can do that, but don't do this if you care about reusing the old stabilizer link. You can also prevent the ball joints and threads from spinning by using a socket and ratchet. Sometimes the stab links come with this middle part with a hex where you can fit a socket, others don't. You can also use a Torx or an Allen key to prevent the threads from spinning. Ultimately, I decided to use a larger socket and the locking pliers to help me remove this nut much faster. So definitely figure out which method works for you. Obviously using the locking pliers will prevent you from reusing the old stabilizer link, since you will most likely destroy the boot for the ball joint. Okay, so here we finally take the bottom nut off, and as I said earlier, the top nut is much easier to access to and you can probably use an impact gun. So here's the preferred way of taking these off. If you have ratcheting wrenches, it definitely makes this job a lot faster. Also here I'm using the locking pliers, but if you can, use a Torx or Allen key to prevent the threads from spinning. Okay, so that's pretty much all we had to do. Now we can start pulling out the stabilizer link. You should be able to yank them out like that. So here's the side-by-side comparison, and the old one definitely needed to be replaced. Okay, so installing the new one is pretty straightforward. Just make sure you have the right part for the right side of the car. So I did run into a problem where I wasn't able to fit the new end link properly into the strut, and that's because the strut hole for the end link was bending and shifting metals, so that I wasn't able to fit the end link properly. So I had to use a flathead screwdriver to help me lift this up a little bit. So if you were not as unlucky as I was, you should be able to fit everything else pretty smoothly. From here it's just a matter of putting everything back where it was. So now we have to bolt everything back together. Optionally, you can use some thread locker. This is if you're worried about the nut spinning off. Finally, we have to tighten everything back together. And I think the torque spec for these are 70 foot-pounds. However, you may not be able to fit a proper torque wrench on the bottom bolt, so just tighten it by hand as hard as you can. And that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching.